about to start very soon. So, good morning, colleagues. Welcome to the AIB Pavilion and to this morning's session about scaling up renewable energy and with a focus on dialogue with industry leaders. And over the past week at COP28, we have heard a lot about the scaling up and especially about the commitment, about finance. But we have been not very much listened much from the perspective from the industry, which are actually the leading players in this field, especially given that their particular role about not only manufacturing, but also investment, but as well as a business model and so on. So today we are very honored to set up this panel itself, giving to provide the opportunity to discuss specifically this opportunity and challenges about scaling up renewables together with industrial leaders. At the AIB itself, from the partnership team, myself have been working a lot with industries through the partnership with industrial associations. So one key partner of us is China Renewable Energy Industrial Association, Korea for short. So we are very much grateful for our partnership, not only by promoting AIB's international standard, but also to gain insight from the industry through the help of Korea. And at the same time, we also understand that Korea itself have been also working and partnering a lot with different international organizations. And so we are also very much honored to have a senior representative from SE4, Sustainable Energy for All, who are also collaborating with us in this panel. And in my previous role at AIB, working on energy strategy, I've been working a lot more with SE4. That was 6 years ago. But at that time, we also noticed there's a overall trend that even from SE4All side and other international organizations very much emphasizing the role of private sector. So I'm also very much pleased to hear that you are also collaborating with Korea on the renewable manufacturing initiatives. So in short, there's a lot of common friends and as well as a partnership in this. So I very much look forward to the discussion. So without further ado, let me first invite Mr. Wang from Korea. In fact, Ms. Li Dan, who is Secretary General of Korea, she is here, but she is sick, so she can't really. Her voice is a bit difficult to speak, but let's also give her a round of applause for that. And then invite Mr. Wang, who is the Deputy SG of Korea, to give the opening remarks. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for the introduction of Mr. Wang. And I'm very glad to be here to say something about renewable energy in China and global. And we all know now ambitious target for renewables has been launched. It will be tripled for the renewables by 2030. Yeah, it's a very ambitious target. It will create a lot of new potential and market space for renewables. And by by the end of last year, the total capacity for renewables is about 3,300 gigawatt globally. If we triple by 2030, and the total capacity will reach 11 tegawatt. So it means the annual compound growth rate will be 16% each year. However, we calculated the annual growth rate in China during the past 20 years. The highest annual growth rate is only 11%. So in the future, the capacity for renewables will increase very quickly. And it also brings up new opportunities for renewables. You can see now most of the countries are considering renewables as the main measure to deal with climate change and energy transition. So far, 118 countries have signed the triple target. And another factor or opportunity for renewables is the cost decline. 20 years ago, the cost for renewables was very high. And for example, for the solar PV, the investment cost is about $5 or $6 per watt. However, now it's only 0.5, so it declined maybe more than 90%. And for wind industry, it's about $3 or $4 per watt. However, it's now only $1 per watt, so it declined also very dramatically. And it means renewables can be affordable across the world, not only for the developed countries, but also not only for the developed countries, but also for the developing countries, even in Southeast Asia or African continent. And another opportunity for renewables is that more and more countries are trying to localize the production of renewable products. For example, the solar panels, the silicon, the inverters, the branch, and etc. And in this way, we can further reduce the cost by localization of the product. And on the other hand, we can also create more opportunities because the renewable production or supply chain is long. For example, for the solar PV, from the silicon, the wafer, the solar cells, solar panels, inverters, and glass, the cables, chemical film, etc. So many countries can identify and select one or two or several parts of the supply chain to be localized. However, for the target, there are still many barriers. As we all know, during the past 3 years, the COVID-19 had a great impact on the economic growth, not only in China, but also in other countries. So we lack of enough impetus or driving force for renewables, and there will be not enough space or room for the new installed capacity. So it means we will phase out some traditional or existing existing thermal power projects. It means there will be more interest conflict between new energy and traditional energy. And if we look at the map of renewable energy now, we can see that most of the projects are located in US, Europe, European Union, China, India, and Brazil. However, if we want to realize the triple target, more projects should be developed in African continent, Latin America, and Southeast Asia. And another problem is the financing. Most of the developing countries have difficulty in getting enough, especially low-cost financing. However, from Chinese experience, if we want to enlarge or scaling up renewables, financing is very critical. Finally, we have some suggestions for the renewables for the tripling target. Number one is that the government should give more supporting policy for renewables to create market demand for renewables. Because to drive the production by demand side is more cost effective. And number two is more financial products should be developed to support renewables, such as the ABS or PPP or green bond, green financing. And number three is we should keep innovation in the renewable energy field, from the production, technology, R&D, business model, and management, and financing, etc. Every part of the supply chain should be innovated continuously, because through the innovation, we can further reduce the cost and broaden the scenarios, the application scenarios of renewables. And lastly, we should reinforce and enhance the international cooperation across the world. So far, the renewable energy is still smaller compared to the traditional energy. So we should work together and unite up to promote or motivate renewable and energy transition across the world. And I will stop here and look forward to more cooperation with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wang. You have emphasized greatly about the role of policy, finance, innovation, and in the international cooperation. So that's very inspiring. Next, we would like to invite Ms. Kanika Chawla, hope I pronounced correct, and Chief of Staff at Sustainable Energy for All. the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining this session today. First, I'd like to thank AIIB for inviting us to this beautiful pavilion. But more than that, I'd like to thank both Korea and AIIB for their friendship and their partnership with SE for All. I think it's a really important time as we are in week 2 of COP and some of the kind of large pronouncements of the first week and let's say the excitement of the first week has quietened down. It's a good time for us also to take stock, just as the entire FCCC process is taking stock, to think about what will it take to get it done. We've heard a lot about what is required. We've heard some really ambitious commitments. 124 countries have committed to tripling renewable energy and doubling energy efficiency. Many of these countries are, as we heard also from the Deputy Secretary General of CREA, countries that don't necessarily have yet the ecosystem in place and do not necessarily attract the investments at scale that are required to reach this tripling target or the doubling energy efficiency target. So what will it take to get it done? And I think this is why this dialogue today, to focus on the opportunities, to hear from the practitioners, the industry, the members of CREA, but also directly from companies who are playing a leading role, is going to be so important and so interesting. But for us, I think it's also a focus on making sure that this is an inclusive and just transition, and one where countries that are not yet fully participating in it can also have the opportunity to do so. And so, as you were saying earlier about the opportunity and the scale at which China will have to grow, it's not just China's growth for itself, but also as a laboratory for the world. And how is China going to play a role in enabling others? And this is the work that we're so excited to be doing with CREA as part of our renewable energy manufacturing initiative, which is operational both in Africa and now more recently also in Southeast Asia, where our focus is on learning from China's experience, on bringing together partners to work together, and then also translating some of the learnings from individual projects at scale. And so, when we think about opportunities to scale up, I think we also think about how do you take what is in reality the greatest economic opportunity of our times, the energy transition, and how do you enable countries to overcome some of the barriers that stand in the way of this opportunity. And so for us, we think of it in the form of 3 very deeply interconnected Ps: projects, people, and of course, policy. And so while our role in large part in most of our work is to engage with governments to support them in policy making, we realize that this cannot work in a vacuum, just as projects cannot work in a vacuum, and it really will be a workforce that will bring all of this together. Today at COP actually is also the day of livelihoods. And so it's people, livelihoods, and nature, but I think it's also really important to think about that myself included, and several of us in this room, but the Global South in general, come from countries where the number of people that are added to the workforce every year is growing rapidly. It is in the millions. And so we need to think more about what are the skills of the future, what are the jobs of the future, and the energy transition also offers us an opportunity for that. But while I was waiting for the panel to begin, I saw what you had on the screen here, which said that the fight against climate change will be won or lost in Asia. And this is entirely correct, because Asia is not just an engine of growth for itself, but also an engine of growth for the world. And I think this is really important to think about as well. How can we bring the expertise of leading Asian countries, be it China, be it India, be it others, to parts of the world that don't have it? But also, how can other Asian countries participate fully? And I think this is what we're seeing is when we look at the statistics for Asia, it all looks very good. And this is predominantly because of China and India. But when you look at Asia without China and India, you see actually that several countries are lagging behind. And this is why this collaborative approach that we have through the Renewable Energy Manufacturing Initiative that focuses on localizing, as you were mentioning, sir, several parts of this value chain. And this is about direct jobs, indirect jobs, induced jobs, but this is also about creating benefit of this transition for local communities that have been custodians of the land, land, of the minerals, of several parts of the skilled value chain that is required for us to make this transition. So again, let me just say that we're really excited to be working together. I'm personally very excited also to hear from the practitioners. What do you make of the high-level commitments that you are hearing? I mean, as you said, the compound annual growth rate to get to a tripling in China would be 16%. Is that even realistic? And if it isn't, maybe a global tripling does not require perhaps China to triple its own installed capacity, but enable the installed capacity in other parts of the world. So I'm really excited, and I just hope that we can have a very honest and open conversation and a nuts and bolts conversation, because for far too long we have these high-level discussions about where we are going, but not so much about how we are going to get there. So perhaps it would be really good if we can discuss that. And finally, again, I would just want to reiterate Sustainable Energy for All's commitment towards countries across the Global South to make sure that there really is a realignment of developing countries around the world in the global marketplace, both for all parts of the energy supply chain, but also an opportunity for them to correct some of the inequities of the past and participate more fully in this economic opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Kanika. You have emphasized, I very much like your point on things will not, policy will not happen in vacuum, and the project will also not happen in vacuum. And there's an ecosystem in place that it will be needed, and especially the need to hear from practitioners. So with that, we will get into the next part of the discussion, which is the panel. We have a very distinguished panel who are here. Let me invite them to be on stage. First, I will invite Irina from SE4All. That's it. This is my spot. And then next, I will invite Mr. Xu Yuejian from Sanyi Renewables. And following him is Mr. James Jin from Longji. And last but not least, Ms. Toshi Kazakoa from AIB. Yeah, so it's really an honor to have all of you here. And on the panel discussion, I would like to follow up on the opening remarks by our colleagues. And specifically on the panel itself, I would like to ask our panelists 2 rounds of questions. Especially given that we have SE4 more representing a bit more on the policy side, we have AIB representing on the finance side, then we have industries leaders who are working out, but also looking for demand their support. So the first round of question will be specifying your what you see as a trend as well as your demand. And then for the second round of question, I would be more asking you how you see with the broader scene setting part, how you would like to propose you will do and call for concrete actions that you see for partnership. So that's and if we have time at the end, I might open for questions and from the audience. So let me first start with, should I say Irina or Irina? Irina, yes, Irina. It's very exciting to hear from your colleague, Kanika, talking about the manufacturing initiative. So first, specifically, I would ask you perhaps to further elaborate the initiative, especially on the overall trend and opportunity, and you see in initiating this. At the same time, what will be your with that initiative? What will be your call or demand for the industries and the financier to implement that?
Thank you for the very wide question. I will try to answer and to give first a little background on the initiative that, as Kanika mentioned, is called Renewable Energy Manufacturing Initiative. We launched it in January this year actually, in Abu Dhabi during the Sustainability Week. The focus was very much on Africa. And why in Africa? Because these come as a consequence of the Secretary General of the UN call to diversify supply chain when it comes to renewables. And obviously, Africa is a continent that has a lot of potentials. And as SE4All, we collaborated with a number of countries and institutions like CREA, that is us with us today, Bloomberg Philanthropies, and many more, to look really at what is possible to be done in Africa, and looking specifically on solar PV, on electric two-wheelers and electric vehicles in general, and the battery manufacturing. So as a spin-off of this initiative that is currently ongoing and really bringing interesting projects across Kenya, Ghana, and Nigeria, and some of these projects are in cooperation also with the Ministry of Environment and Ecology of China. Our CEO was there not long ago, and we have a very, very close cooperation. As a spin-off of that, we decided to look also into Southeast Asia. Because as Kanika was saying, if you take a step back and you look at Southeast Asia without taking into account the China, India, but also the presence of South Korea, Japanese manufacturers, then you see that is a region, these 10 ASEAN countries, with a tremendous potential for renewable energy manufacturing, with a base of technical skills, but also with the need of scale-up. And this need of scale-up, it brings together different stakeholders from the policy side, but also from the financial side, that are needed to really support these countries in take the next step. And that's where we decided, okay, let's investigate a bit the market. We went to this direction with a number of partners. So with the Asian Development Bank, we have one representative here with us today, with Bloomberg Philanthropies, with Kalmar Works Foundation, and we really look into the market perspective. And as I said, the results of our investigation that were published in Jakarta last August 2023 were very reassuring in this sense. There is a strong potential for countries to really become strong assets in the region, but also it's very important for them to push for intra-regional collaboration. I believe that every country has different skill sets when it comes to electric two-wheelers, when it comes to battery manufacturing, and when it comes to solar PV. If all of them are working together, they can also scale up the technical capabilities that are needed to take the next step and become a hub for Southeast Asia. And you ask in terms of financial requirements. Financial requirements, I think, are ginormous because they have to take the next step. They have very ambitious targets in terms of renewables. We heard before about the tripling target. How this tripling target translate into practical renewable energy targets in Southeast Asia? This is a big question. They have a 35% RES target by 2035, and that already entails an investment of $150 billion in the next years to come. There are some instruments like the JETP that put together private and public blending. There is some support in that sense. We're talking about, for example, $20 billion for Indonesia in the next 4 to 5 years. But is this enough if we have to triple renewable energy capacity at global level by 2030? So I think new instruments are needed. Definitely will be very important also among the different banks, MDBs in the region to work together, but also for different stakeholders in the financial sector and governments to play an important role. Thank you.
Thank you. I very much like the keyword you mentioned about the potential and the manufacturing capability that need to be developed in Africa and Southeast Asia. So with that, let me ask our second panelist, Mr. Xu from Sanyi Renewables. After you hear all the broader targets and also the call, also on manufacturing, do you see that is also in line with your company's business plan to basically also expand and in your business expansion towards those more emerging market or even a further frontier market, what you see as a trend and challenges for you to further scale up activity there, not only in terms of manufacturing, but probably also in terms of, I understand you also work on investment in those countries. So, yeah.
Thank you. Firstly, thanks to the ARB and the CC. Korea, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. So the first, thanks for invitation. So let me here to have this opportunity to discuss with so many people. So personally, I came from Sunny. I'm David, so because my Chinese name is a little bit difficult to pronounce for foreigners, so I have the English nickname called David. Actually, I think for the questions from the moderator, firstly, the way we treat the renewable energy has a huge potential, especially in the emerging and the developing country. So that's the reason we have set up a different business sector in the Latin America, in Africa, and as well in the Southeast Asia. So we treat this region, we are to bring the new and a very big opportunity for us. This is the first point. The second one, we believe for this the task, for the mutual task we faced for the energy transition. So we should be the driver of this sustainable the future for all the emerging country. So it means we didn't need to repeat some story happening in China, in India, or maybe in other the Western country. So since beginning, when they figure out the energy demand, they will set up the renewable energy immediately. That means that I think this is the good for everybody, for the whole the human society. Secondly, back to your question regarding for the manufacturing and the technology transfer. So definitely, I think the Chinese. So personally, myself, I should be the first several batches to take the job in the wind power industry in China. So previously, I was working in the European company. It's a very famous company. So I think that during the 10 years, I think between the 1995 to the 2005, these 10 years, so just because the Chinese government set up this Renewable Energy Act, that means that we pave the way for the very big renewable energy development in China. Just a lot of the Western company, including the Siemens and the Vestas and the Gamesa, and even a lot of company, to set up the manufacturing facility in China. I think this is the program definitely change the renewable energy development in the world. Because later, so after 3 or 4 years, they bring the technology to China, they set up a local supply chain in China. This is built a very huge supply chain network in China. Currently is help everybody in the world. Significantly reduce the cost of energy, significantly reduce the capex for the renewable energy project. I think when the last round of experience, they just give me the lessons learned, or maybe the experience. We should repeat this story from China, or maybe from other country, to finish this technology transfer to developing country, to emerging markets. So that's back to your question. So we treat the localization in the emerging market is the most important task for us. For Sunny, actually, originally we are the construction machinery company. We just joined the renewable energy business sector since 2008, almost 15 years. But we believe the localization always are the very important experience for the overseas business. So that's the reason we have the 6 manufacturing hubs in the world, from Indonesia, India, Germany, United States, Brazil, and hopefully in the coming years we'll have some new facility in the West European. So back to the renewable energy, we will repeat this strategy again. So that's the reason, just 2 or 3 months ago, 2.5 months ago, we set up the wind turbine manufacturing facility in India, in Pune. So that will be just the first step for the local manufacturing. Hopefully, next step in the Middle East, in this region, currently we just planning to find a suitable place for the manufacturing of wind turbine and the components. So maybe possible in Saudi, maybe possible in Egypt. But definitely that's our strategy. We hope to, through this localization, then they transfer our technology, transfer the experience for the renewable energy equipment as well as investment. So that's, I think, what we want to answer. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I particularly like your expression of you actually see the biggest opportunity for you in those developing countries, and that's actually where has been emphasized by previous speaker as where the investment and the capacity expansion have been lacking. So that's very exciting to hear. And also you treat a localization of the manufacturing very much important as from your own part of your own business expansion. So next I'm turning to James. I will ask a similar set of questions, but I would further emphasize, given that LONGi, you are leading solar PV manufacturer from China, and we also understand that solar itself might have an even higher potential than wind. And would you be so from your perspective, when you are looking at the tripling target set by government, do you see so how do you see the opportunity or the challenges in meeting them? And then secondly, given your strong role in the manufacturing space, how you would like to see the whether entering in those developing countries are also in line with your broad business overseas business target? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. My name is James. I'm responsible for the business in Middle East, Africa, and Central Asia in LONGi. We saw the bigger potential and also the growth engine in the region. So basically, global-wise, the total shipment of last year, 250 gigawatts. And this year will be most likely close to 400 gigawatts. So the growth rate is really rapidly, more than 60% of year-on-year growth. And actually, this just get started. Because according to the zero carbon ambition, so basically, as I mentioned from the keynotes, the total contribution of the renewable energy today is only take about 7%. And according to the targets and ambition, we need to get a majority of the energy from the renewable. So which is, means more than 60 or 70% energy consumption will be basically come from the renewable, right? So this is a big ambition, and year-on-year growth will be more than 30% until 2050. So in this way, as a LONGi, we continuously, to make the efforts for the to generate for the cell efficiency, to get more and more lower LCOE to contribute with your renewable transformation. So last year we spent $1 billion for all the investments, which thanks for the investments, then we generated for the 26.81% of the cell efficiency for HJT technology. And last month we newly announced for 33.9% of the tandem technology in terms of the cell efficiency. So which is, what it means for the people to the world for the transformation of the new energy. It means, people need to only spend less and less as affordable of the new energy. So this will be, boost for the new energy transition. I saw a lot of ambition from the national ambition from the key countries in the region. For example, Saudi. The kingdom set up the targets to get more than 50% of the energy from the renewable by 2030, which is 58 gigawatts, which is really a huge ambition. So basically, a lot of countries, even including the UAE, the South Africa, Egypt, Morocco, all those countries, Uzbekistan, set an ambition. So it is take a long way to go to contribute and boost for this ambition. At LONGi, so globalization is one of our strategy. We have 50% of our revenue come from China and 50% from the international business. So that's why the globalization is not only to expand our sales network in the region, but also set up our manufacturing and the facilities around the world to support for the localization. Give you an example. We have the total capacity of the module this year, 130 gigawatts, right? So out of the 130 gigawatts total capacity, we have 20 gigawatts out of China, which is located in Southeast Asia, in Malaysia, in Vietnam. And we have another facility which is going to operate there in America with another 5 gigawatts. Will be started from Q1 of next year. We're also, doing our feasibility study for for the kingdom, for Saudi, as well as in Europe, Africa, etc., etc. So we believe the globalization and the localization will be, supported for the carbon neutrality. So besides for this, the PVs, the solar panel, we also said the huge potential from the green hydrogen, right? So basically, especially in this region, a lot of countries actually they targeted for the transformation is not only for the huge consumption of the itself, but also export to the neighbor countries, neighbor continents, to Europe, to Africa, to India. So that's why, then the green hydrogen will be the key driver as a storage and also the transportation to the neighbor countries. As LONGi, we also, we can provide a very comprehensive solution for both green electricity and also the green hydrogen. We also set up our independent business union for green hydrogen 3 years ago, and now we already have a 2.5 gigawatt of green hydrogen manufacturing in China, which is also the largest manufacturing for green hydrogen. We also take 40% of the market in China, which is also the largest market share. So basically, we believe, the green electricity, and secondly is the storage as well as the hydrogen will be the 3 main direction of the transformation of green energy. We will continuously to support with the ambition. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, as also from the audience, they also been motivated by your inspiration. And in particular, I was amazed to also hear that you are seeing a lot of potential in the different technologies and also especially on green hydrogen. And so that's something very much inspiring. And your key focus also including the Middle East and Central Asia and African countries. So next I will go to Toshifumi, our AIB colleague. So when you are hearing that the companies are actually putting developing countries as their core focus, but from a financial institution point of view, how you would see the challenges and opportunities in doing more projects, financing more projects in those countries, especially given the right now there's a high risk there, and it's also difficult to mobilize private capital. So what's your specific view on that?
Okay, thank you very much, Chao, and thank you very much for coming AIB's Pavilion. My name is Toshi, and I'm an investment officer in the AIB covering Southeast Asia. So I'm more focused on the Southeast Asian side. And from the opportunities part, I see a huge opportunities in increase in renewable generation capacity. there, because in many countries, actually, the governments have announced large-scale renewable energy program in recent years. For example, in Thailand, the government announced 5 gigawatt renewable energy program under a new feed-in tariff. And as Irina mentioned, Vietnam, Indonesia, they try to promote energy transition through JETP. And in the Philippines, also they plan to launch a new green energy auction program next year. So I think there will be huge investment opportunities in renewable generation side, which is strongly supported by the government. And as an AIB, as a financier, there will be huge financing needs. And AIB is a relatively young bank, and we have a lot of lending capacities. So we are happy to, and no single banks can support one project. We need to co-finance with other banks, other MDBs. So we are happy to work together with other MDBs, commercial banks. As Xiao mentioned, we can mobilize commercial capital to support these massive energy program. I also want to highlight the challenges, which is more on the transmission side. In some countries, due to the rapid increase in the generation renewable capacity, the curtailment in the transmission is actually getting a serious issue. And this affects not only for the project developer, but also lender side as well, because it will affect the revenue of the project. And this basically happens because of the grid congestion. And the investment in transmission line is not enough compared to the increase in generation of the capacity. As a short-term and project-level solution, installation of battery storage is effective. And I see a lot of those projects, the wind, solar plant with BESS, that's getting quite normal. But in my opinion, in the long run, I think it's also important to ensure that there will be sufficient investment happening in transmission line. And if necessary, the government also may need to think about its intervention to the investment in a transmission side. Otherwise, even though you have a lot of renewables, but you cannot transmit to the grid in an efficient manner. And AIB also wants continued discussion with the government side, how we can support investment in transmission line to make the enable environment for the private sector investing in renewable space. I'll stop here. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Toshi, for expressing AIB's willingness and intention to work together with the different partners. I want to particularly pick up on that support itself, especially as you hear from Irina and the others all calling about the important role of finance. So from AIB side, what type of financial instrument you would see as to provide that support? Can you first elaborate on that?
Sure, thank you. So from the instrument perspective, as you know, a lot of people actually discussing about the blended finance, and I want to emphasize that we try to strengthen partnership with the donor funds or philanthropies to mobilize concessional resources. And I think it's important for us to also structure blended finance to accelerate energy transition. Of course, we cannot crowd out the private capital, so we need to carefully use this blended finance instrument. But in some cases, I think quite important to structure blended finance from AIB's perspective. And also, AIB is keen to promote local currency financing. In some countries, I would say, a tariff under a power purchase agreement is not linked to US dollar anymore. So it's more like linked to the local currencies, especially in Southeast Asian countries. And to avoid the currency mismatch, AIB can fund local currencies from cross currency swap, and can provide competitive local currency financing by using its AAA credit rating. So actually, we can support competitive financing to the project developer, even though it's under the current interest hike situation. So that's something I also want to mention to promote more on the local currency financing. And I also want to touch upon the new technology, emerging technology. I think you mentioned green hydrogen. And as a new multilateral development bank, we are keen also to support these new technologies, green hydrogen or offshore wind in some countries. And we would be happy to support these projects through both senior debt or even a direct equity to the project company. We can use both tools. And I also want to mention that AIB can also support the project in developed economy if that technology has huge development impact, which is, I think one of the unique points of AIB. And so I know some of the green hydrogen project happening in high-income country, developed economy, but we are also happy to support these projects since there's huge development impact in green hydrogen, for example. And as a general, as an AIB, this is a specific financial instrument. But I also want to mention one of the important roles for AIB. We are a multilateral development bank, and so our shareholder is basically the government of each AIB member. So if our private sector clients have some concerns about the project structure or bankability, then we would like to convey this message to the government and find a solution together with the government and client. And this is particularly important for kind of large-scale renewable projects, such as cross-border kind of trade, kind of electricity project, which is nowadays getting common in Southeast Asia, where the project is these projects are a bit complicated in the structure, and also the project sits between 2 or 3 countries. So we're happy to stand between private sector and the government to make the project bankable. This is not the instrument, but still this is quite important role for AIB to play. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Toshi. I very much like your framing of AIB, the flexibility in terms of geography, in terms of instrument, and the instrument itself, not only the financial instrument, but also the policy dialogue type of role, giving our multilateral in nature. I've been a bit terrible in managing time, so I want to a bit of accelerate, but this might also alleviate a bit of speaking burden for our next the next round of questions for our speakers. So for James, I want to particularly ask you about, because you also talk a lot about the synergy and work between your business in China and overseas. So I want you to provide one example or one suggestion about, say, what do you see as your work from best practice from China that can be replicated outside in your in overseas market, especially in the market that you are looking at.
Well, there's a lot of synergy, right, between China and the Middle East, Africa. Firstly, from the geography-wise, right, those the nations have very good relationship, and here is also, I think, is example of Middle East is also the hub for international, very close and to connect with their neighbor unions like Europe, and American, other neighbor continents. So I think we treat the Middle East Africa as a very, very important market. So that's why we invest. This year we shift our office to a very large office in DMCC. So basically we push all the functions from the headquarters to the fronts. This not only for the sales people, but also all the functions for the solution, for the services, and also for the even for the legal, HR, finance, all the functions pushing from China to here. This is to get more close to the market as well as to our clients. Secondly, we try to leverage our resources to get more local employees, and then treat the people and to get more well educated for this industry. Certainly is a local collaboration. We just set up 2 joint labs. With one is with our most strategic clients, Aqua Power, and secondly is with the Coast University in Saudi. So we, with this joint lab, joint innovation, we try to joint develop something, particularly in the region. Then we can supply some kind of equipment with the customization. Specifically designed with the desert environments, high temperature requirements in this region. So the joint innovation is also one of the most important collaboration synergy between China and those markets. So besides that, I also mentioned for the local facility, local manufacturing. We've tried to also duplicate our manufacturing. We have the largest manufacturing in the world. And we will try to set up a local facility and bring all the resources, the ecosystem to the region to support for the new energy transformation to the region. So this is we saw a lot of synergy, and we are working on the collaboration with to build a connection between China under the key countries of the region. Right.
Yeah. Thanks, James. And now we'll turn to Mr. Xu. Similar questions, but probably more focus on your area of expertise, which is wind. And I do want to add on top of that, which is by my colleague Toshi mentioned about AIB's financial instrument. For you as an investor, is that sufficient, or you are also asking for more?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. So actually for Sunny, we are not only the focus on the manufacture, we also have the investment basis in the world. So that's also involved for the renewable energy project. So definitely we are looking for some of the financing support from the AIB, this the multi-international, the bank financial institutions. So roughly, I think the point is, for some countries, the structure is not really the perfect as what we done before. The first regarding for the PPA. The second one is some of the point is not really the perfect, like just Mr. Tushi mentioned for the grid, the congestion. I think that's what you mentioned in Vietnam. They suffer a lot currently, and that's I think definitely is there's a lot of so perfect the project at this moment. So it means that for the developer, for the investor as well, for lender, should be considered how to the jointly to take all this risk together. So it means the previous the financial package looks really wonderful, is really the risk limited, but it seems for the future, if you want to develop more the project, we invest more, especially in emerging market. I think the emerging market always we can just quote the first round opportunity for some country with the sovereign guarantee, but after that, I think it will be moved to the free market. Definitely for this very low level infrastructure country, for the very limited grid connection capacity, and as well for his environment and maybe the regulation, the uncertainty. That's always give a lot of problem for the developers. So that means I hope to the financing the partner can really understand this current situation. So that means they can make this the package, the mechanism much more flexible. So even sometimes I think also we also lead to some government to step in to kind of give some additional support. Yeah, that's I think we're also looking forward to have the further cooperation with the IRB on the international project. Thank you.
Thank you. I particularly like when you are also giving that express your willingness to work with AIB. At least that's something we do hope to as some general outcome of this panel discussion. So finally, I'm going to turn to Irina. So especially with the comments and suggestions from the industries and the financiers, are you now more confident that we are able to meet the tripling goal? What will be your further recommendations? Probably more to the government side. That's more of your client to work with.
Thank you for the question. Yes, I'm much more confident now. Now, what I was thinking is that this discussion is very much focusing on renewable energy manufacturing, and this is very important. And I agree very much with Toshi about what he was saying about the grid infrastructure. This is key because, we can build much more renewable energy capacity, which we can focus on the value chains of renewables, but still, even if we have everything in place, if the grid is not working or it's only working in a single country in 10 ASEAN countries, that is not going to help the region. What is going to help the region is have a smart grid, a flexible grid, and a grid that is interconnected across the 10 ASEAN countries. So that those countries that are producing more electricity from renewable energy can actually trade with those countries that are in lack of renewable energy. I think, Singapore is doing that quite smartly, already having some agreements with the neighbors for 4 gigawatts. That's very smart. I think it should be much more like that, leveraging on the intra-regional power of ASEAN, also and especially for this kind of flow of energy from renewables. This is one point that will make you even more confident. But I think we also need to take into account other needs. It's not just infrastructure need for renewable energy manufacturing, but we are a COP. There is also the need for infrastructure for adaptation and resilience, and this is huge in Southeast Asia. 6 out of 20 countries most vulnerable to the effect of climate change, of raising sea level, are in Southeast Asia. We all know the extreme weather events, the extent to what they can do. That's also infrastructure need. So we have to prepare, and that's also finance, is adaptation finance. There was a big discussion about that, and will be the core focus on the negotiations in the next days until the 12th. So I think this is also to be taken into account. And that may be my last point, that it's probably the key point before going to renewables is how do we tackle the coal phase out? Because the countries are still very much relying on coal, and it's not just one part of the economy. Very often for a region, this is the whole economy is around mining, is around refining, it's about workers. So generations are working into that. And this is the reality in Southeast Asia, but this is also the reality in many places elsewhere in the world, in South Africa, but also in the Western Balkans, in Ukraine, in Kosovo. You have so much coal. So one question is, how do we make sure to transition to phasing out successfully from coal and to shift to renewables? How do we make sure to train workers from one area to another, to upskill, reskill them? All that takes time and takes finance as well. So I think finance should be looking into the manufacturing side, the different value chains, but also into the adaptation for the risk of climate change and to coal phase out. I think it's partially doing that now with the JET-P, but there is much more that needs to be done in all the countries that are coal reliant, fossil fuel reliant, I will say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. With all the wealth of insights being shared across the panel, I'm not trying to summarize. However, I would very much invite all our audience to give a round of applause to our distinguished speakers here, and thank you so much.